Good morning and welcome to the Morning Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ham, coming to you as always from the Spotlight Studios in Morristown, New Jersey. We're talking about one of my favorite topics, networking. That's how I met this whole panel. Different networking events, different networking groups, all that kind of stuff. They all have their own little twist on networking. They all have their own groups, different events that they host themselves. So we're going to meet them. We're going to learn a little bit more about that, and then we're going to get started in a networking conversation. So our first panelist is a vice president at BlackRock, and he is the founder of the Young Real Estate Professionals of New York, Mikestrug. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on. Our second panelist is the co-host of the C3 Chat Show podcast and founder of Switch Events, Sid Vaidya. Sid, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, a repeat guest on the Morning Spotlight podcast. She's the founder and head of content creation at MD Inc. She's the host of the new podcast, Mission Driven, and she's been hosting virtual networking events throughout quarantine, Monica Dema. Monica, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Michael.
Absolutely. Welcome back. So I think for everybody listening, since I know all about your events, I know I've been to all of them at different times. So maybe we're going to kind of go through each person. You could talk about your events. So Sid, we're going to start with you. Let's talk about Switch for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you, Mike. This is amazing. And the opportunity to speak to your audience base is fantastic as well. So Switch Events was a brand that I more or less created last year in 2019. And prior to that, I'm a kind of an avid networker, super connector, as I call it, for too many years. And of course, in the business that I'm in, it just helps to be able to engage and meet new people and get to learn them, and then vice versa, share relationships. So Switch was really a thought because there's been so many networking events that I come across where I just, there's certain points in time where I was like, it's just not right for me or things like that. Ultimately, I consolidated all the things that I wanted and for the years that I wanted and the way I wanted it, and I merged them into Switch, which started out really, Mike, you were one of the few original folks, and I really respect that and appreciate that. And
first
it was an
ever
in-person
event I was at, the first ever one.
Yeah. And I think I had called a few people. I was like, hey, can you just make it just to help fill the room? Turned out to be like 20-something people, which is fantastic, But last year we finished out 29 events. We had over 1,200 attendees, and this is not a membership model. It's a ticketed model. So, you can come and go as you please. Mike, you came to some of them. Others you couldn't make it to, understandable. And, last year was a fantastic year for in-person, of course. We're in this COVID pandemic. And in February this year, I actually shifted to virtual. So I was one of the kind of early adopters into the virtual space. And so I'm using remote conference as my platform. But ultimately, I finished over 35 events this year so far, and over 2,100 people have attended my events. So It's been a fun run so far.
And those events have been great. I sat in on one where you had Devin Harris on, who was a guest on the Morning Spotlight. I know he's a guest on the C3 Chat Show too. That one was awesome. I know there's a real estate one coming up soon, which, I am also interested in.
You're part of as well.
I am part of it.
Yeah.
So, Mike, why don't you take us through YREP? Because I didn't know this because Mike was a guest on our LinkedIn video series when the Morning Spotlight was first getting started. And I didn't know that YREP has been around since 2001. So talk to us a little bit about how you got to start YREP.
Yeah, I started the group in 2001, August of 2001. I was somewhat new to New York. I'm from Texas. I'm a native Texan. Not too many people know that, but I'm from Houston, Texas. Went to Columbia Business School, was in real estate before school, and continued in commercial real estate after business school. And I said, I want to start a networking group. I like to network, and I like to meet people. There really wasn't networking in 2001. There wasn't Google. There wasn't Facebook. You weren't, there were some great national organizations that had events, but they cost $100, $50, $300. And I said, there must be something free, and I got 50 people to go to Pig and Whistle, and that was the first event in August of 2001. And really every month, besides 9/11, the month of 9/11, every month until the virus hit, we've had a networking event, 100 to 170 people in Manhattan, and we started doing them in Morristown, New Jersey as well, where people could come and network in commercial real estate, owner-operators, developers, brokers, lenders, appraisers, architects, wealth managers, you name it. It could be anyone. I don't really limit it. It could be anyone in commercial real estate or ancillary businesses, of course, title insurance, attorneys, And the whole goal is to keep it a free networking event. And usually we have a company who wants publicity. They will help be our sponsor, and they'll sponsor the food at our event. I never understood the concept of paying a lot of money for a networking event if all you want to do is network. So we have it at venues in New York and New Jersey that welcome 100, 150 people on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's a fun event. We keep it casual. Music's not loud, and people can meet each other and have a good time. Since the virus hit, we're starting to do virtual, also through Remo, and trying to do them once or twice a month. And obviously, it's not the same as the real thing, but it's again, a great way to expand the network.
Absolutely. I personally love YREP events. I have so much fun at those. I probably drink too much, but I always wind up meeting, like I always walk out of a YREP event with like 10 business cards of people that like I can have a quality connection with. I think they're great. And
Thank
Monica, take us through some of the events that you've been doing over the last 170 days, which you told me about yesterday. So
Just keep adding the check marks next to the days. But Mike and other Mike, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to your events. They've been great. They've been great sources of referrals and just contacts to have. And I think that's the goal of networking. So when the pandemic hit, I, alongside millions of other people, didn't know how long it's going to last. And there were some other groups that decided to create Zoom networking, which just seemed like a cluster, and they were charging for it. And I just didn't think the pandemic and, you know, what everyone's going through is really worth $5 or $10 per networking session. When there's so many people that needed that $5 or $10 for either food or clothing or shelter. And I decided, let me create 3 to 5 different networking events per week, see who comes. And if somebody wants to donate money, great. That donation then went to the Columbia University Medical Center in New York, where it was kind of the epicenter of East Coast outbreaks. And then also a foundation called Project Kind, which I'm also on the advisory board for as the leader of fundraising. And we combined collected thousands of dollars for both of those organizations. And again, that money went someplace great. Every time we have a Remo event, I get such great feedback saying, you know, I met this person and we closed that deal. Or I met that person, he introduced me to this person and we closed that deal. And I think that's kind of what it's all about, helping other people. And what I love about this virtual landscape of networking is that you're now able to meet people that you weren't able to meet before. If you always do the same thing, you always get the same result. So if you go to the same events, you meet the same people. But now I'm mixing all of my different worlds together and introducing them to one another from California, from Tennessee, from the UK, from, you know, the Far East. Awesome people are now talking to each other and kind of expanding their network. So I've really had great fun with doing this week over week. There's no technical name for it like all of you gentlemen have for your groups, but we have Monday marketing, we have Wednesday women, Thursday thought leadership, and Fun Friday. And some people come to every single session. Others come to just those that they have time for. But really, it's just such a great event. And I'm going to keep on doing it until there's no reason to continue.
Yep. And Monica's events, I mean, I've been to just about all of them. They're also awesome. So
except for Wednesday Women, Michael.
I haven't been to that one yet, but we're working on it. I'm working my way there, I think. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, and I'll just kind of walk through the stuff that I do, just in case any of the listeners don't know, and you guys already know. So I started the Next Generation of New Jersey, which is a young professionals networking group. We started that, I think now like 2.5 years ago, not necessarily industry specific, but we would meet every few months for a happy hour, free. I'm a big fan of like, to me, like a structured networking type thing sometimes makes it hard to get to know like who the people that you're networking with really are, because sometimes you walk into events that are very structured and you have to do your elevator pitch and all that kind of stuff. I think that takes away from the people. And like, I know all of you and I know that you're good people. And that's because the events that we've done together, I've gotten to know you better. Like Monica's become one of my best friends in quarantine, or in life, I guess, with quarantine on top of it. But it's great because then you want to do business with people that Monica says it all the time, that you know, that you like, and that you trust. I got that right?
Right.
Yeah, so got it right. So,
Yes.
and then basically that kind of led me into doing a Business and Brews event with my friend Brianna Stiers, who works for Rue Inc., which was more real estate specific, a little bit more focused, a little bit more structured, I guess, when it comes to, we would have sponsors, we would have an open bar and all that kind of stuff. But all of us with these events are trying to provide a service for people to get out there and start networking. And I think what Monica was saying before was something that I realized very early on. Like when we all went in, we're all in New Jersey right now. Sid, you're in Jersey, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're all in New Jersey. So when this all this COVID stuff started back in March, like I was like, okay, I'm going to take like a week and a half off. This is going to be great. Like a mini vacation. All this stuff is going to clear up. It's not going to be that big of a deal. And then next thing you know, like we are on super lockdown. It was like a really scary time. You know, Monica's literally counting days. She has a counter on her Google or whatever. So, you know, then I realized like we got to make a switch here, you know, like we can't all just sit here and not do anything and then expect this to just kind of go away. Like I feel like people that are sitting on their hands right now and not networking and not expanding their network have missed the boat or are missing the boat currently. So Sid, I know you were talking about how, when did you say you made the switch into doing some virtual events?
So I finished my last happy hour event the first week of February.
Okay.
And then 9 days later, I hosted my first virtual event.
And how is that? How is that switch been? An easy switch?
No. So what basically the process is that, you know, of course, I'm all about the end user experience. Okay. So the person coming to my event. So I come from a background of food. My parents' business was a food and beverage business. So the end customer was the one that made the decision on your business, right? And so that was the key goal. And it took, I tested out about 7 different platforms with a core group of about 30 people. And then we picked out Remo. And since then, I've designed different floor plans on Remo. I've done all sorts of different things. And then also at that time, the people at Remo, they were still just kind of, I don't know if you, since everyone uses it, they've only really been around since last August.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to actually speak with the owner, the head of sales. You know, like we were talking normally. Now they don't even want to take a call, but they're fantastic at conversation at that time because people were getting onto it. And I was probably like number 7 or 8, like doing this much volume, you know?
Yeah. Sid's, so everyone here, so Mike, we're going to let you jump in next, but everyone here, including myself and Mike and Monica, that makes everybody here, we all use Remo. Because like Monica mentioned Zoom, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm sure everybody here has done a Zoom networking event, and Zoom's great. Like we're on Zoom right now because it makes it easy for us to get in front of a group of people and chat, or one person and chat. But like if you have, like Sid, I mean, what's the most that you've had at a networking event that you've run so far on Remo?
So the ones that I've hosted, 386 or something like that.
Okay, so think about putting 386 Zoom screens. I don't even know if Zoom can handle that, but like, how are you supposed to meet anybody like that?
You can't.
You can't. Like, you can be like, okay, Mike sells title insurance, Sid's in banking, Mike works for BlackRock, and Monica's in marketing. Okay, great. All right, see you guys.
On this? So I've done a lot of other people's groups on Zoom, and my qualm is when you get more than like 10 or 20 people, and everyone's getting into their elevator pitch, you kind of fade out. You grab your phone. You don't really care. You don't get to know them.
No.
They put you in those breakout rooms, and you've met 4 out of the 6 of them, let's say. The 7th is just kind of new and exciting, but then you're only just meeting that one person. You can't move anywhere. You can't go anywhere. I love Remo for the fact that you can switch your table. You can do an Irish goodbye if you don't like that table. It's just like if you were at a bar or a networking function in person, you're like, this table's a little weird, or I'm not going to go there because I know all the people. I want to meet new people.
Right.
So I think, organic networking is hugely beneficial to, mental wellness and also the bottom line when you're talking about who you can do business with.
Right.
So that's my soapbox on Zoom.
Yeah. And then Mike, I know YREP has since switched into doing the Remo events too. And you've done some happy hour events. You've done some coffee hour events. So how has that switch been going? I know you've worked with some people that are in the YREP group to kind of help spearhead that.
Yeah, no, they've been pretty good. It's been fun because we've been able to get people not from the New York area, New York, New Jersey, because if you're not from this area, you really couldn't go to our event. So we are, as Monica said, we're capturing people from California and we're capturing younger people, even college kids who are coming to our events too virtually. It's still, our events live were so much fun with people drinking or people having fun or eating and at a pub in New York City and Manhattan and all that, Morristown, New Jersey. So that, people are waiting to go back. But the good thing about the virtual is at least we could be in touch with each other. We can network daily and weekly with each other until we're able to get back. This is a great platform.
Right. And Monica, I just want to bring you in just for one thought. So I started Remo events with a backing of the next generation of New Jersey was already a group, and we had 150 whatever people in our LinkedIn group, plus the Business and Brews stuff that I started with Brianna. So when I was able to put together the Tuesday night next generation of New Jersey happy hours, I was able to kind of remobilize that group. Sid already had Switch, Mike already had YREP. So you came in and started these networking events, and you had a good networking base, but not necessarily like a group to kind of mobilize and start out these events. So how has that been for you?
Starting from nothing?
Yeah, starting from nothing, essentially.
I don't think I was really starting from nothing, because
I don't mean to come off that way. I just mean
No, I'm not taking it as a slight at all. What I'm considering is I know so many people, whether or not I've done business with them, referred business, but my LinkedIn connections, I have, I think, thousands, right? And most of them I don't talk to because you can't really sustain that. Right. But there's some people that I thought were interesting that I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this networking group. Why don't you come? Or why don't you sponsor? It's not much to sponsor. It's a couple dollars, but then they get their logo in the remote room and they feel great about it. Yeah. And it really wasn't hard. I'm a member of so many other networking groups, and I ask the leaders, do you mind if I promote my event? Is there anybody that can do that for me, whether it's via an email or just reposting my stuff on LinkedIn? Anybody can come. So it's really kind of a no-brainer. And I'm not diminishing what all of you are doing with your established groups. I think it's wonderful. And I hope that I can sustain this in some way and have it become established. But that's not my goal. It's just kind of a COVID coping mechanism that I created just for socialization, just for networking, because I love networking with people. You can't travel anywhere. You can't go anywhere anymore. So at least I can see you on little 3-inch squares once or twice a week.
Right.
So I'm okay with where we started because it's kind of where we had to start.
Go ahead, Sid.
I want to add something, Monica. So you brought up an interesting thing. That's I just started this to really kind of, during this COVID period. And I actually have a few people that I know that did a lot of the similarities of what you've done. Right. And to be honest, through this journey of Switch that I started last year with, I realized I took about a month off for a wedding that I was attending overseas. And there were more people reaching out to me saying, why aren't we coming to an event this month? And so, believe me, you may think that, hey, this is just during the COVID period or whatever, but you've become a figurehead for a lot of people that wouldn't have ever known you or gotten to know you prior to this process. So just keep that in mind. And it's a great personal branding thing as well for you. And of course, all of us,
Yeah, absolutely.
Within our...
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we just talked about how great we're all doing with this networking stuff. So, and obviously all three of you are people that I respect from a networking standpoint. So maybe the people that are listening to this may not be as well versed in networking per se as some of us, but I want to take us through some do's and don'ts of networking, because we've all seen that guy or that girl, whatever, that they come in and they're just they want it all, right? They're not really looking to help anybody. They're just looking to take, right? And that doesn't work. That doesn't really fly here. Nope. So maybe Monica, we're going to start with you on this one. So let's just do don'ts. What are some hard no's, the oh no no's of networking?
I think I have 2 or 3 that I can give you. So the first don't is, don't come in hot and heavy where all you want to do is talk about how great you are and how many years you've been in business, because no one cares. They just kind of, again, glaze over. You have to become fun and exciting and relatable, become someone that they know, they trust. The other thing is don't come in and complain. People don't like complainers. They like people that are positive. And you don't have to have false positivity either, but just don't be negative saying, well, I'm getting nothing out of these events. I'm getting no referrals. My clients all suck and nobody wants to pay me. Nobody wants to work with you. You're just advertising what kind of personality you have in the bigger picture. And I don't know that I would feel comfortable referring somebody to those kind of people. And the last is just to engage and not just be a quiet fly on the wall. You're doing networking events so that you can become a referral partner, somebody that people want to do business with or refer business to, or just get lunch and talk about things. So just being authentic and participating.
Absolutely. Mike, you have any no-nos when it comes to networking?
I'd say, well, in the regular networking, don't bring resumes, don't interrupt so much. When someone else is having a conversation, try not to just interrupt that conversation just for your own gain. And I think Monica said it right. Don't complain. People complain about this or that. It's all about being positive. Even if you meet one person at a networking event, even at my virtual Wire Up event and your events, Mike, you meet one person, that can make a difference in your network and your career. Just one person you meet. So just have fun. Just bring the positives out of everything.
Absolutely. Sid, how about your no-nos?
Yeah, so well, first of all, Monica and Mike both had some amazing no's, and a lot of them that I will definitely agree with. Since both of them really spoke a lot of the in-person ones that I recognized, just one in virtual side that I've noticed is that I get a lot of people that complain to me as a host that, hey, why don't you have this, or why don't you have this, and why don't you do this? And this is not even to each other. This is directly to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, we're on a computer. I'm looking at a screen. You're looking at a screen. Like, work with me here.
Yeah.
And Mike and Monica both laughed because they probably have felt this at times as well.
Yes.
And this isn't like the normal, hey, the camera is not working and the mic is. This is like, hey, why are the tables designed like this? I'm like, are you serious?
Why isn't it red?
Yeah. So it's like, just be respectful to, of course, the people that are coming, but also to the people that are hosting this, because we're taking the initiative, right? And I think all four of us being event hosts, that we're taking the initiative to actually go and expand other people's life and community as well as our own,
Right.
I know Monica's gotten that. I've seen it firsthand happen, like on a Remo event, and I was just like, oh no, like, what are you doing? Like, she's, putting herself out there 3 days a week. At one point, Monica was doing an event every single day, Monday through Friday. Yeah. And people were going to all of them and then still coming back and being like, well, what if you do this? What if you do this? And it's just like, dude, she's busting her ass to put out this stuff for you guys to come and have, the ability to talk to people and expand your network. Like, she's doing it for free. She makes no money on this, so just a quick vent session.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. I got your back 100% of the time. All right, so we just did the no-nos. So how about the do's of networking? So we're going to go back the other way. So Sid, we're going to start with you. So what are a couple good tips that you think that people should go into a networking event, virtual or in person? It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
That they should be trying to do.
Yeah, since there are so many good things to talk about, I'm just going to pick two right now. One is I go to every type of event with some type of a structured pitch, right, an introduction, and it might be, I usually, in my book, it was written a 15, 30, or 60-second pitch, whatever you want to structure that to be, right? So, hi, my name is Sid, I'm a networking expert, blah, 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 right? You just keep it that format. And then this way, then what happens is when you are kind of amongst a group of people, then you can kind of make these things move quicker. And particularly with virtual, just people that attention span, right? They might be seeing their kid moving around or their animal or whatever the story's going on. Maybe a train is coming, they get caught that way, right? Whatever it is. But, just you got to keep things moving, right? And then the second one that I'm recommending for both, in particular for virtual very more, is you need to follow up. Every single person I meet virtually, I follow up. Like, in like a week or 2 week max type of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. So how about you, Mike? You got any good tips?
Yeah, as a follow up to Sid, when you meet someone, first of all, maybe set goals in meeting people, depending how many people are at the virtual event, for instance. Maybe set a goal to meet 2 people or 10 people or 30 people, and try to exchange contact information. Use the chat feature to get to someone's email address or number or whatever, or LinkedIn profile, or maybe connect with them on LinkedIn and get that. And just, again, as I said, like before, just stay positive. And, even if you're a 9-person event and you don't think it's that big and no one came, you never know. Those 2 people can change your career, help you for the next job or your next deal. You just never know.
Right. Monica, round us out on this one.
Yeah. So besides having a positive attitude, or at least not a negative one, really being intentional with who you're meeting and hearing them, not just listening to what they're saying, so that if you're in the networking room for 30 minutes, you can say, oh, Mike, earlier when you said this, it really resonated because of X, Y, and Z. And again, you're becoming likable and you're becoming relatable. And it's like, wow, he really did pay attention to what I had said. So that's making me more inclined to either give a referral or have a deeper conversation about it. So be authentic, be genuine, follow up like Sid said, and do everything that you're supposed to do as you would in person.
Right. Okay. So Mike,
sorry, one more thing.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Wear earbuds.
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah.
Yeah.
The feedback thing is like my most annoying thing ever.
100%. But then it also kind of means that all the children and the animals in the background, or when you're having trees cut down and.
Is that happening to anybody that you know? Because
happens to me all the time. Anytime I have a call, there's a tree being cut down or my road being worked on.
Right. If you listen to the marketing episode, you can hear a tree being cut down behind Monica's house. So it's a quick sidebar. Anything else? Yeah. Right. No, I'm sure they did great. Anything else, Monica?
That's it. I'm done.
All right. Cool. So Mike, you mentioned LinkedIn. Now, I already know the answer from all of you, but we're just going to do it anyway because I'm a big LinkedIn fan. And I think that like when I first started with Fidelity selling title insurance, doing like the cold call thing and all that really wasn't working for me because I was calling a lot of attorneys and attorneys don't want to take a cold call in the middle of a day. They're trying to do work. No. Right. So then I just started hitting LinkedIn a little bit just to kind of like I always had one, but never really did anything with it. And then once I really started getting more involved with it, it kind of took off from me. So Sid, I know you're crushing it on LinkedIn. So talk us through like, absolutely. Yeah. Trying to make you look good.
No, thank you.
No, but you really are. So talk us through like some of your thoughts on LinkedIn and the benefits of it.
Yeah, sure. So I've had the LinkedIn profile, which that probably every one of us has more than 10 years. I can't believe LinkedIn is like 15-year-old company. Wow. I feel old. But 3 years ago, I started really kind of grasping that, wow, what are these people getting more active and posting and things of that nature? And so I actually jumped in the bandwagon about 3 years ago. I had about 300 followers. I'm up to about, up until last year, I was deleting about 3,000 at a clip every year just as a best practice. But I stopped doing that. Now I'm at about 12,000 connections. Wow. Really the best practice I can focus in on LinkedIn is the posting engagement factor and the no sales kind of push, right? So if you're going to try to get a message out, like for me, I of course, interview people like Michael, you mentioned earlier, right? I talk about the person. I talk about their achievements. I'm not trying to say, go listen to my podcast. I'm talking about something about that person, whatever it is that they've done, and trying to put it out there. But more importantly, I'm posting and I'm engaging, right? So I post once a day at minimum, and I'm engaging with minimum 5 people a day. And that's just a best practice I've had for a few years, and it builds. And I've closed multiple $1 million worth of transactions over the past minimum 3 years, just via LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So with such frequency in your posting, what is your average viewership of videos or of the actual post? What is that?
So the algorithm does change very often, and I actually teach a class on LinkedIn. But prior to the last big algorithm change, which happened a few months ago, I was touching roughly about 7,000 to 15,000 views a post. And right now it's more per post. Okay. Yeah. And now it's more of about 1,000. And honestly, I struck one of my videos last week, it's at 27,000 right now views. So I must have hit some type of a metric, but on average, it's about 1,000 to 3,000 views. I'm really more on the views rather than the likes, right? Because people's eyes on LinkedIn, right? We're all professionals. So unlike Facebook, where you're just blindly scrolling, LinkedIn, I've noticed that more people actually do engage when they actually see something they like. Right. And so because we're all professionals, majority of us that are on LinkedIn. And so when you see something that makes sense, you want to go and just watch the video and things like that. And I create multiple different metrics. I have Sales Navigator, so it gives me a little bit more in-depth analysis and so forth. But yeah, that's all I can help. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Monica, do you have any LinkedIn tips or thoughts on LinkedIn? I know you also crush it. So
yeah,
be good to talk about.
So I was just curious, Sid, because I've been trying to understand the algorithm myself. I've had some posts that get 10 to 12,000 views, others that get 50 to 60. And it's just nonsense, right? But it's the videos that I'm always curious about. It's the actual posting, whether you're posting a picture attached to it or a link attached to it, or if it's in the comments. So all of that matters. But I think that the key takeaway is being consistent and not being annoying. Because we all have people that we tend to unfollow, whatever way that might be, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, people that post too much, or it's not relatable content, or it's kind of salesy. In the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'll never do business with that person because I don't know what they're actually about. I know what their product is, but I don't know what they do. So being authentic and being consistent.
Absolutely. Mike, do you have any thoughts on LinkedIn? Because I do want to ask you a different question, but I'll let you go on LinkedIn first.
Yeah, I don't use LinkedIn for the same purposes, and that's the beauty of the LinkedIn. There's so many different things you can do. I use it I don't post. I use it more to connect with people. You can connect with anyone, and I've met a lot of people try to connect with me. I'm a commercial real estate, so I connect with them. So I've been able to build my network, as the others have said, just through LinkedIn. There's just meeting people. I'm in commercial real estate and meeting people, private equity, developers, you name it. I can meet people on LinkedIn even during the pandemic. And then I lost my train of thought, but and then I use it for news articles. I love reading. People post great news articles in commercial real estate and finance, and I literally get my daily dose of reading from LinkedIn.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I do want to bring it back to you, Mike, because one of the things that I know about you, and I know you touched on it quickly, was that at the YREP events, you do actually have a lot of college-age kids attending to talk to people that are more established in the industry and have jobs and some advice. And you've put them in touch with me and other people. And so I want to talk about different ways to get your networking fill. Maybe you don't need to go to a networking event per se, but maybe on the mentorship side, what are some ways, and I know Sid, you could talk about this too, but talk us through the type of stuff that you're doing, because you're a Tulane grad and you obviously do a lot of stuff with kids from Tulane and friends and all that kind of stuff. So take us through some of that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Again, this is where the virtual has kind of helped, because we have the pre-virus, we network events every month in New York, let's say. So when a student, and usually our people who come to our events are people working in New York commercial real estate. But a lot of the summer interns who are 21 over come to our events too. So a lot of students started finding out about the YREP group. So when they graduate, they're able to start coming to the events here in New York or New Jersey. We started this program where we had, this past summer, we had a summer workshop for college kids. We probably had 85 to 100 college kids who wanted to learn more about commercial real estate. So the YREP group hosted that. And it's a way to introduce college students to friends of mine in commercial real estate, people who come to the events who can give back and help college kids. I mean, I think we can all do a great job in helping college kids build their networks and prepare them for the future.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely. Sid will get you in right after.
Yeah, Mike, I think that's great that you're doing that. I feel as though that's a great way to give back, not just monetarily to your university, but you're also helping foster that next generation of realtors, financiers, whatever. For me, I tend to find myself helping young women kind of find their way after they graduate, as they're trying to navigate negotiations for their salary, all of that, because it's kind of something I wish I had right out of school. Right. I didn't have that, wish I did. I think I would have been in a different place now if I did have it, although I'm not complaining. But the goal, I think, of networking is to be your best self, and kind of molding them at a young age lets you do that. And then hopefully when they are my age, they also kind of give back and do that to the next generation. And we can kind of keep paying it forward. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sid, round us out on that one.
Yeah, no. Look, I very similar to what Mike and Monica mentioned. So I'm I came to this country. I didn't go to my parents to say, hey, please help me. I want to become XYZ, because they also came to this country with me, type of thing. So, for me, it was always looking for mentors. And a few years ago, I actually went on kind of a focus and try to find college students that would be interested in learning more about what I do and so forth. Because when I got into banking and things of that, finance world, there were just people behind me. And that then gave me the opportunity, actually, and about 9 colleges now ask me to speak for them all the time. And so now I'm a regular speaker at colleges, and I recently created a series called the Next Gen. It's Network with Sid Next Gen series, where basically it's a 1-hour mastermind that we're just running through their questions and talking it out with them. And I just finished recording one episode, and we're recording the next one pretty soon. So, trying to help out the next gen, because I think that is, they're our backbones. So if we can't figure out things for them, how are we going to kind of move up,
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So we are kind of getting close to the end of this episode. So we could probably keep going on this because we've talked more than I thought we were going to on this particular topic, which just shows how passionate all of us are on this particular, networking idea. But I know we have a hard stop here in about 15 minutes. So I do want to get into our closing segment so that we have time so that you guys can flesh out some of these ideas. Under the Spotlight, that's our closing segment where we're going to get our final thought from all of you. So they're all listening to the networking episode of the Morning Spotlight with Monica, Dema, Mikestrug, and Sid Vaidya. We need to hear one thing that you want to walk away from this episode with. One closing thought, one prediction it could be. I don't really care. Just one thing that you want the lasting impression to be. So, Mike, we're going to put you on the spot. We're going to make you go first. So you're under the spotlight. What do you got for us?
I'd say expand your network by 1 or 2 people per day if you can. I mean, just you do the math, it adds up, and that itself can help your career forever. It's just a small goal like that.
Absolutely. That was short, sweet, to the point. Love it. Sid, you're under the spotlight. What do you got for us?
Yeah, sure. So my life changed when I started following this one single quote: "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." And basically, build the right type of connections, the right type of people, and your future's secured. So hopefully,
I love that. I got the chills from that quote. I know Monica did too. I saw it. Sid, you also have a book that just came out, right?
Yeah. It's under the title Network with Sid. Network with Sid is my overall brand. And it's basically a very short guide on what are the last 10 years of my life in networking and just the best practices.
Awesome. So make sure to check that out if you guys are listeing. I had to give you a chance to plug that for sure. And Monica, take us home. You're under the spotlight. What do you got for us?
I don't know how to follow that. I think if I can give you one bit of advice for networking, just again, being authentic and being yourself. If we're exclusively talking about this virtual world right now, connecting with those people, 1 or 2 people online, like Mike said, have a 10-minute conversation. People are so much more likely to talk right now, but don't sell them when you talk to them. Just talk to them as a human being, because that's really what we all are. At the end of the day, that's what we all are. Who cares about the title? Who cares about the company? We are humans talking to humans, and that's really what matters.
Absolutely. Well said. All right. So that is going to wrap up our show. So for everyone listening, I'm going to put Sid, Monica, and Mike's contact information in the show notes. So the links to their podcast, the C3 Chat Show for Sid, Mission Driven with Monica. I'll put the Switch Events link. I'll put the Monica's link. I'll put the YREP link. So everybody that is interested in learning more and getting involved with the stuff that they do and listening to the content that they're producing, I mean, it's all fantastic. There's a reason why I had this group on here. So make sure that you reach out to them if you have any questions. If you want to be a guest or want to hear us talk about a specific topic on the Morning Spotlight, make sure you email us at themorningspotlight@gmail.com or go to our website, themorningspotlight.com, and fill out the form, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And then Monica, Mike, Sid, thank you for so much for doing this with us today.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.